And today we're talking about World Championships in France, HYROX, and our experience, the highs, the lows. Man, what we learned, this is going to sound so cheesy. It's like the life lessons we got. But man, we learned, I mean, for real, we learned some real things about ourselves, about other people, the relationships we made while we were there. Like the high level of competitors was almost indescribable. To be thrusted into this situation was just unbelievable. And I hate to like just tie it in so cheesily, but it really ties into life, right? Like this whole experience, like it's no different than what we're experiencing in business, in our relationships, in our health. It just is the same thing over and over again. And how do you handle it? How do you show up? And that's what we're talking about today. And Sean's already mentioned a few things to me, and I've heard him say a few things, and I'm like, man, I can't wait to dig into that. Looking at some of the competitors we're up against, Greek gods like formed out of iron and fire, and we were up against these guys, and so it was just amazing. And so today we're going to dig into that, and the goal will be for not just to hear our story. This is not our story. This is what we've experienced, but this is for you to look at your own life and see where these things showing up for you. What do you want to do? What do you want to have? Where do you want to go? What's stopping you, and how can you change those things? How can you turn them around? And this is the great topic of conversation. And we'd love to hear your feedback. Reach out to us, social media, give us your questions, give us your successes. We'd love to hear them. Failures, especially the failures. You want to hear those. Those are some of the best stuff, right? So to get to it, Sean, man, to sum up like in a sentence or however many sentences, what was the experience like for you?
Well, I put on social media that I made a video and just spending a lot of time just reflecting. We've been back for a few days now, and jet lag is a real thing. So if you've ever cross countries, 7-8 hours, it makes a huge difference. So that was a humbling experience to really understand like how the sleep works and the time zones work, and that was pretty. I'd traveled before, but that was a pretty remarkable experience to be able to, okay, cool. It was 1:00 in the afternoon there, but it was still, nighttime here back in the States. So if I had to sum it up in one sentence, I would definitely say, like I had shared on my social media platforms, that it was an unforgettable experience. And for me, it was definitely a top 3 in a way of aligning with what it is. Like, not only was I with the people that I love and cherish in my life, my wife and, you, business partner, and Kel, but being able to do that and experience that journey and that culture and that environment in that country together, but also to plugging ourselves, doing what we love doing as far as fitness and being able to compete amongst these other top 2% or, top 1% of basically, there was a statistic I wrote down in my notes, over 200,000 competitors in HYROX. And only, I believe, the top 2% were there competing in the World Championship, right? Sure. And so do the math on that. And and to align that with also getting the experience, places that I had never been before, it's definitely going to be an unforgettable experience and journey, but also a very humbling one, in meaning like, one of the things that I realized about myself is like, you can get in these routines and habits of life, and, whether it's a morning routine, evening routine, during the day, business, going to church, and these constant like routines. But where we actually grow is actually like forcing ourselves in these uncomfortable environments. And that's what we did in these last eight days, right? Not only from the jet lag, being on the plane, wanting to sleep, you're wanting to fall asleep, but you can't fall asleep. Getting into these environments, like you said, when me and Ewan walked into the expo center, here back home, we're like, top 3, top 4, top 5 out of, 100 competitors. Well, there, it's like you're walking around. These guys have 12 packs. They're straight up, 6'3". So you're looking over there like, dude, that's Hercules. Mm-hmm. And it's almost intimidating. You almost, these imposter syndrome, pops up and comes out of nowhere. Then your limiting beliefs and your self-doubts. And I told you before the podcast, I was like, dude, I found this to be a very humbling experience. And I shared that in our mastermind group this morning, because I'm looking around going, these guys really take care of themselves. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it was humbling and it was unforgettable. experience. And so what about you, man? What was your takeaway? Like, what would you say in one sentence or two sentences?
Yeah, it wasn't. I was excited the whole time. For me, I felt like I had nothing to lose. There was a lot of adrenaline. Let's just say that, right? There was a major adrenaline, and first time experience doing anything like this. Normally, when you when you walk into this expo, it was a massive arena, and you could feel the grandness of what was about to happen. And normally, you're in that environment, you're going to be a spectator, right?
Yeah.
Football arena or basketball arena, you're gonna be sitting in the seats watching these people play. Going in there, looking down, like seeing all the seats looking down, I'm like, man, I'm going to be in there being watched at my weakest possible, most drained moment. That I had to really process that. And I just kept, and how I handled that for me was just keep coming back to the practice that we had put in.
Yeah.
I knew that we had put the time, energy, and effort into the training. And so that's all I had to rely on. And so that kept my nerves calm, which allowed me to enjoy the whole experience. Right. I just kept coming back to that. I'd drift off in my mind. I'd be like, oh, this is going to be insane. I know how hard this competition is. And I just come back to the training. I'm not racing against these guys. I'm not up against them. I'm up against myself. I'm up against the training that we've put out there in my mind. Right. That's what we're up against. So the whole trip, to stay present and enjoy it with you guys and with my wife, and the culture, the weather was beautiful. The beaches, oh man, the food, the vibe was phenomenal. I'm so used to jet lag from going back and forth to Scotland for decades. It was more of the same. And I do want to throw in a story here. Right before I was walking out of the house with my suitcases, and Sean sends me a picture of his Uller, which is it's called this chili pad, and it allows your bed to stay cool. It circulates cold water. It's like a pad that goes underneath your sheets, and it allows you to get phenomenal sleep. I've preached this for a long, long time now, that this is the number one recovery tool, because sleep is everything. And I wasn't going to take it on this trip because I'm like, well, it's overseas. How am I going to work that? It's not even the same voltage. And Sean sent me a picture. He's taking his, and immediately I'm walking out the door. I'm like, I got to take mine too. I didn't even allow myself to believe that was possible to do it. And so I ran back upstairs, put it in my suitcase, and just made it happen. Took an extra suitcase and checked it in, and got to France. First thing it was, when we got to the hotel, I set it up, and it was probably the best jet lag experience I've ever had. Like I think it really saved my day, right? Like, because I was able to get to sleep multiple nights. I probably only had one bad night of sleep. And normally when I go back to Scotland, it will take me 7-8 days before I get one decent night of sleep. I'm just walking around like a zombie. So I really feel like that helped a lot. So yeah, thank you to you for sending that picture last minute, man. That really made a difference. But I say all that because that's the quality of your trip, right?
Yeah.
Like making sure you get acclimatized. And so yeah, just the whole experience was sheer joy, man. Like if I was to think about the whole overall feeling, like I don't normally often miss a place, but I miss it already. I miss the experience, and I'm craving more, which is weird. But yeah, that's how I don't know if I summed that up well. I'm just like throwing up all my emotions and thoughts of the experience. But
no, it's beautiful, man. You nailed it. No, well, and it's like not where you go, but it's also who you're with, right?
Yeah.
And you're spending that with, you spent that with me and Kendra 3/4 of the time before we headed off to Paris. And so I couldn't agree with you more. When you walk in there, it was so surreal. It's like, man, the environment, it's almost like it was a championship, but it's like, dude, like the lighting was perfect. All the weights were beautiful. The people were beautiful. The environment was beautiful. The only thing that they were missing was the freaking AC. How hot was it in there?
Oh, it was so hot. It was so hot. Yeah. For European AC is not like American AC. And on our race day, we found out that, I think my wife found out that one of the AC units was down. So they had opened up the doors, and there's a massive big dome, and they opened up the windows at the top of the dome to try and let air out. And it was just so hot. And all the competitors, and this is no excuses, right? We've said this multiple times. There's no excuses. There is what it is. But there are variables. There are variables that impact how you perform. Just a fact, right? Sleep is a variable. Heat. Nutrition, all those things, and you can do those things better to degrees, right? So there are variables that you can improve upon. But that was definitely a variable. The heat was a variable. So yeah, and man, to transition into the experience itself, right? So like we had trained for our simulations were about 63 minutes to go through this grueling deal here in Conroe, Texas, and Willis, Texas. And
just for context, the average person, average typically is an hour and a half.
Hour and a half of the average. Yeah. And that's with open weight, right?
Yeah.
This was the pro weight that we got thrusted upon us as well. Like we had not competed with this before with this weight. Like, so we had to put up our training with the higher weights. So that was definitely a variable that was playing in the back of my mind. Man, these are much heavier. And so that's going to impact us. But we trained for that. Again, we trained. We knew it was coming. We didn't have a long time to train, but we did. And our goal was to be sub 60. And our time ended up being 69 minutes. So think about that for a minute. That is a significant difference than the goal that we'd hit. And I don't know if this is strange. You'd mentioned something earlier, and you can say how you feel about the show, but I don't feel disappointed in the time. It's the first time I've ever competed in this division, this weight, in this environment, overseas. And all I feel is like I learned what to do and what not to do. And if I was to do it all over again, I know exactly what I need to do to hit a better time. And that makes me just feel wonderful. Like, and you said it earlier, it's not a failure, it's a fail forward.
Yep.
Which is what life is, right? So to me, just completing it, and that was the time that we got. That is the time we got. And we both said this. I left it all out there. I looked at my heart rate monitor later, and I was 212 beats at one moment, which is close to
borderline.
I told you, I said, hey, they better have the defibs because there's a chance I'll die out here because I'm not going to stop. And I looked at my thing and I felt woozy afterwards, man. I was like, I could drop right now, and I just held on, cooled myself down. But that's how I felt. But so 69 minutes. We trained for 63 in simulation. We trained at 63. We're shooting to be sub 60. We got 69. How do you sum that up in your mind?
Yeah, man. So my emotions were all over the place afterwards. Like when we hit the finish line, and you probably can recall, I mean, we didn't really have a camera on us. Actually, if you go back to the YouTube video at the very end, Kendra had the camera in our face, and we had over 40, 50 people live watching this on YouTube. Yeah. I didn't know what to say. I was speechless. And I know what to say. But at this time I was like, man, I was super speechless. I didn't have the energy I mustered up enough energy to basically say, I don't know what to do with my hands. And thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time, energy, and effort. Goodbye.
Yeah.
So my emotions were all over the place. But reflecting back now, several days later, man, when we towed the line, there was so much anticipation. There was so much time, energy, and effort that me and you had put into it. Think about the hours that went on behind the scenes. Think about the strategization. Think about the sacrifices away from your kids, away from your wife. Same thing here. The early mornings that we got up every single morning for weeks, if not months, the investment into the coaching and into the program. So when I think about that, that's the stuff I think about. I'm like, but then I immediately snap my finger and go, the version of you that doesn't do that doesn't put yourself out there, that doesn't invest in yourself, that doesn't make the sacrifices versus the version that does, which guy do you want to be? Which guy is going to dominate the other guy? And I've told you this, and one of the things that I'm so big on is it's all about the experiences. It's all about the life experiences. And I'll be completely transparent, Ewan. Normally, I'm the type of guy, like, I will steer the direction that I want to go and who I want to become. Well, there's a double-edged sword there, right? Typically, I put myself in environments where I dominate. This was an environment where I got dominated. Right. And so what I mean by that is I was a tadpole. We both were a tadpole, not a fish, a tadpole in a huge ocean.
Yeah.
And it was a very humbling experience from the moment that we started warming up, the moment that we started towing the line, and we had 30 other athletes in our age group, 35 to 39, that were around us, ripped. You couldn't tell, right? Because if you're an endurance athlete, you don't know who this guy could be 5'4" over here, that has no muscle on him, but he'll smoke you out on the race, right? Because of the endurance. It's not a powerlifting contest. remember, we were towing the line. It was a countdown from 6 minutes to 5 minutes to 4 minutes. And we're sitting there, me and you're quiet. Everybody around us is speaking German, is speaking French, is speaking English. Like we didn't have a clue
Korean.
what they were saying. They're probably making fun of us. Like we didn't have a clue, right? We were the only ones with our shirts on because we wanted to represent Level Up and Live.
Yeah.
Well, the time comes down 10, 9, 8. I got my watch ready. I got my Garmin ready, and boom, I hit the run button. And then we were off to the races. Immediately, I'm like, oh, dude, we're going to be out front because we were in the front of the line. There was like probably 30 guys behind us. Well, immediately, these guys come out freaking hot. I mean, they're coming out of the gates. We're typically right around a 6.5 to 7 minute mile per minute mile pace. These guys were coming out at 5 to 6 minute mile pace. Immediately we fell behind, but I knew in my mind, hey, anytime, this goes for life, personally and professionally, I told myself, dude, run your race. Don't worry about the guy that's in front of you because he's going to burn out. He is not disciplined. He's not trained. So I kept running our race. And how many people did we pass up along the way?
Yep.
How many people, Ewan, quit, threw in the towel that day? Not just in our race, but other races.
Yeah.
And I told myself, these are my values. These are my beliefs. I don't care if you got to carry me out on a stretcher. I'm going to finish this race.
Yep.
Right? Because I want to reflect back and go, did you leave it all on the playing field? Did you give it your best? And I did. When I say I fell forward, I was disappointed in my performance. The way I felt in that 69 minutes is not what I felt like when we've done the simulations and when I've done HYROX on my own. I couldn't breathe. I was soaked from head to toe. I walked out of some of the different exercises to get water and pour it on me. Even my wife said on the YouTube video, like, Sean never walks out of the rock zones. And so it's like I was telling you before in the races, I was like, dude, I don't know if it was the humidity. I don't know if it was the jet lag. I don't know if it was the banana I ate before. Who knows, right? Maybe it's everything. But when I think about it, it's like, I'm disappointed in my performance and how I felt, right? And then on top of that, to make things worse, is we got 69 minutes. And in my mind, I'm like, dude, where did we go freaking wrong? And so I reflect back at the very end, and we were able to talk about it. We were able to dissect things. And one, I look at a couple different things, Ewan, and I want you to break this down for me. One, did I leave it all on the playing field? Could I give it any more? No. Okay, nope. Perfect. Great. I'm happy with that. 2, did I quit? Nope. I finished. Great. Right? Check that box off the list. 3, did I have fun? No, I didn't. It sucked.
It's so
I'm like,
funny.
I'm serious. I'm getting back, right? And I'm good, but I'm like reflecting back. I'm like, dude, that's embracing the suck. But I'm like, did I enjoy that? Did I enjoy that moment? There was language. I won't speak for you, but I'm curious with you because you've mentioned some things to me behind the scenes. I'm like, I don't know if I'd want to do that again.
Yeah.
You know, what about you, man? What are your thoughts like on some of the things that you've done?
The hour before, I think I don't know how I think I messaged this to my family. I was going to message it to our HYROX text group, but like the 3-hour sequence before, middle, and after, it was like, I can't wait to race. Hour before, warming up, and I'm like, I've got nothing to lose, man. I've trained. I can't do more than I can do, and whatever it's going to be, it's going to be. And I know I'm not going to quit, even though my brain's going to tell me I'm going to want to quit. I'm not. I'll never quit, and I'll just keep going, no matter the time. No matter the time, and I'm just gonna wherever Sean is, I'm just gonna focus on keeping up with you, just like in Houston. Just focus on you running ahead, and that's all I'm gonna focus on. I'm not worried about people passing. They pass me. That's what they're doing. It's got nothing to do with me. I can't control what they're doing, and so the hour before, I'm like, let's just go. Let's get this thing done. That's what we came for. I'm ready to rumble. During it, this is the worst thing I've ever done. This is horrible. Why are we here? What have we signed? Like, this is just diabolical. I mean, it was, we had nothing left 3/4 of the way through. So what were we going on with the last quarter? We gave it all up to 75% of the way through. And so there was just exhaustion left. That's what was fueling us, was not like exhaustion. I don't even know how to explain it. And I'm like, never again in my mind. And about an hour later, I'm like, when's the next one? Dude, honestly, I'm more fired up now to train to get back at it. I
Wow.
want another one. I want
Yeah.
another one. I want to do individual, so I know where I'm at personally, so
Yeah.
I can improve upon that, which will help our doubles.
Yep.
If you ever want to do one again, that's what it did for me, dude. I don't know. The experience was phenomenal. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful experience.
I love that, man. And that's, to me, what I'm hearing you say is that you have so much gratitude, right? It's gleaming out right now on video. And because it's very easy to get like bitter and it's like, that 60 minutes sucked. And so maybe, perhaps, right? Or you can reflect back and go, dude, I just put my body and my mind and my soul through something that I would have never thought was possible.
Yeah.
Right. And so when I reflect back on that, I think it's important to ask yourself and dive deeper on when you repeatedly do those things. And I've heard a lot of language, like on other podcasts, people that have competed, like even the higher levels, the elite levels. I'm listening to these guys, and if you don't have that why on why you're doing what you're doing, and you're doing it for other reasons, maybe it's because of fame, or maybe it's because of money, right? Or maybe it's because of status, whatever the reasoning may be, it just won't be sustainable.
Yeah.
Maybe you're number one or number two or number three, but when I'm hearing other people, and I'm dissecting this from my own life, right? Because I'm just the hero in my own story. And I'm like, dude, I've been here before. I've put myself in these environments, and I'm like, is this do I enjoy this or do I not enjoy this? And I love hearing the journey that you experienced with it. And now it's even fired you up even more to double down, triple down, to work on that improvement. And that inspires me, because hearing you say that, because I think we all get in these, myself included, we get in these environments, we get in these where we get punched in the mouth, dude. Like, I got punched in the mouth. Normally, if it's a podium or, in the past, but here recently, man, in the last 5 or 6 days, I'm like, would I do that again? And then if so, why would I do it again?
Yeah.
Individually or even doubles? And I haven't put a pulse on it, and that's not like me. Normally I'm like you. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to do that again. I can't wait to double down, triple down on this training.
You feel the same way?
As what?
To double down on the training?
No, I don't.
You don't?
No, I don't, because, and it's because, so the way I look at it is, why do I do fitness? Why do I do challenges? Why do I do workouts? Is it to compete at the highest level? Is it to do that? It is fun, enjoyable, and it's aligned with my lifestyle and who I want to become. Yes, that's it. That's not aligned with the action what the outcomes of what happened. So I have to reflect on that.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy the 60 minutes, right? I didn't like the outcome. And what were the return on investment? Like, what was the sacrifices leading up to that?
Yeah.
All the training, all the hard work. Yes, we went backwards. Yes, there were setbacks. Yes, we were failing forward. But what's the definition of insanity? Is doing the same thing over and expecting different results. So what do I do now? Right? It's like we talk behind the scenes, and I've heard other elite athletes, even in the elite 15, they're talking like, well, we don't know what to do. Right? Well, when you have that why, when you have that North Star in any area of life, you know, like with certain, I know what I need to do. Meaning I don't have the answers right now, but I'm going to find out those answers.
Yeah.
And normally I have that feeling, but I don't have it now. So I've reflected in the last 24 hours. So I'm like, I told Kendra, I was like, this morning I had a conversation. We were having a coffee. I said, hey, what are you grateful for? She asked me what I was grateful for. And I said, I'm going to share with you what it's going to look like for me in the next 3 or 4 months. She's like, what's that? I said, well, for the next 8 weeks, I'm going to take a break from HYROX, and I'm going to go back to another program. It's called the Hybrid Cut. It's for 8 weeks. And I am just going to run in the mornings and lift in the afternoons, strength training. That's what I love doing, which works on my composition, focus on level up and live. And I told Kendra, if you're down with the get down, I will do mixed doubles with you in November in Dallas. I haven't made the decision yet. It'll be a 12-month training block. So we have to stay tuned for this for the journey. But starting in October, or September, that is when I'm going to start my next 12-week training block. And I told Kendra, I was like, I'm definitely going to do mixed doubles if you want to do that. But I haven't put my pulse on it. Haven't come to conclusion on doing individual or doubles with Ewan again, because I don't want to feel like that, like I did at championship, Yeah. And so that's where I'm at with things, man.
With the last doubles on Houston, how would you compare that? Like, what would you say is? Have you enjoyed it before?
100%. When me and you did doubles in Houston, I was like, "This is it, baby. This is where." Because here's the thing: we're in our playing field, right? Yes. It's literally 45 minutes from our home. We, no jet lag, and we're in our backfield. Mm-hmm. We're in our playing. Just like, if you're a sports fan, football, baseball, if you see competitors play in their home turf, they're usually, I think the statistics are higher.
Home field advantage.
Yeah, home field advantage. That's how I felt. And then on top of that, it was less weight versus getting forced into the double men's pro, which is sled push, 430 pounds, sled pull, 375 pounds. This was 20 to 30% more than the weight we had 6 weeks prior. On top of that, jet lag in a stadium, heat, all these different variables, which I'm not making excuses at all.
No, they're variables. They're not excuses. They're variables.
Right, they're variables. Exactly. And my performance then was, I was happy with. But this performance, it's like I took 5 steps backwards. But here's the thing I've learned. Not only have I learned what I just shared with you as far as what I enjoy, what I don't enjoy, and correcting course moving forward, but it was also, here's the key ingredient for me, Ewan. It was a humbling experience. I realized, because a lot of people are like, oh man, this guy dominates, this guy's ambitious, this guy's a driver. And a lot of our personalities we are, but man, for me, I'm like, I liked getting punched in the mouth. Reflecting back, I'm like, it was so humbling. I was like, I got work to do, and not the work that you would think like, oh, I got to go be number one.
Yeah.
No, work meaning like, where else do I need to have this force humbling in other areas of my life?
Yes.
That I think I'm crushing it, but I'm really not putting myself in the right pond.
Yeah.
Right. I'm a big fish in a small pond. I need to be putting myself in a big ocean to really level up. You see?
Yeah. Yeah. How much more, like you think, well, I can only squeeze out another 1 or 2% of greatness. But man, what if there's a 50%, what if you could squeeze out a 100% more
exactly
greatness? Like, we don't know, for me on that, like that was about as grueling as it's ever going to be. But 100%. I don't know, unless someone hit you with a baseball bat in the kneecap right before you went, that might be worse. But barring that, like we went through the fire of all fires in somebody else's pond, and we came through. And that to me, just like only good things can happen. Like we do that again today in Houston. We shave 6-7 minutes off. You know what I mean? Easy. Like, and that to me, and I've not even turned on the dial of training hard yet, and so I'm like, man, what that was training, not uphill. It was like training up a cliff face, right? Like we went up a cliff face on that one, and the circumstances were so abnormal that to put you back on flat ground, competing against people who have not done the cliff face and they've only been on flat ground, man, that's domination, right? And so then when you go back into that arena, you're still going to get whipped, but not nearly as bad. Like if we were to do that again, we'll never do 69 minutes again, ever, right? In my mind, like that's not going to be. It's only going to get better from there. And so I don't know, that kind of puts like a fire in me, like, know what? Embracing that suck. Like it was miserable. How could I do that again and it be enjoyable? Like,
yeah.
And I think there's a version of that somewhere, and like that's what's playing in my mind.
And that's what's key right there. We've talked about that on the podcast before, Thursday episode, belief. Because you believe it, you will achieve it.
Yes.
That's it.
Belief.
Belief.
It's a funny thing. It's a funny thing because I can feel when I don't believe something and it's awful. It's like this debilitating. I can't do that. Why not? What do I need to do? I'm not willing to do that. I don't want to do that. And I feel stuck, trapped, afraid. And it creates anxiety. Then when there's this other thing that's potentially 10 times harder than the thing I just described, I can do this. I believe, right? It's this strange little feeling. And you see a vision, you see a path. It's clear. Like if I just do this, I'm going to get that thing. When over here, I have no clue how to get to the end of that. And it's debilitating. It's the clarity, getting clear, like seeing what's possible and what I need to do. It's like, I'll take on all the fire. I'll take on all the pain because it's going to be worth it for that result. Like I'll enjoy that, as opposed to something that's not where near as bad. And it's going to feel like walking on glass. Like it's just for nothing. But yeah, you're right. The belief is why I feel like it's gonna be, the training is gonna be more fun. Like it was hard. Some of the training was hard for me because I didn't have that. I didn't have this yet. I just did it because I committed to it. And I said I'd do what I was gonna do. And it's what a phenomenal experience. I love what you said. For me, that was putting myself in that pond, like that environment that was. And even right after the marathon, you said, hey, do you want to do, or before the marathon, you said, do you want to do HYROX? And I could have said, no, man, I'm not feeling it. I'll wait and just see. And we didn't do it. Then we don't do Houston. Then we don't end up in France. We don't end up doing this. We don't end up talking right now about it. And I've learned the version of me that didn't versus this person talking today. Oh man, what a difference. What a difference this path has taken in my mind, and where it's going to go from here. It's not over yet. This is just the beginning of the rest, and that's true in all things for all people. It's true.
When I hear everything you just said in the last 45 seconds, man, I felt it in my soul. And I'm sitting here listening. I'm like, man, I hope this is landing with people that are listening to this right now, because the version of Ewan that I know in the past, I've heard that version, and I've heard the version that you just shared with me in the last 45 seconds. Like, who is this guy?
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. 100%, man. And it honestly kind of gets me fired up and gets me excited.
Yes.
And it's hope for me and belief for me. So it landed with me and the message received, because I hear it in your voice. I hear it in your tone. It's like, what's possible?
Yes.
If you do have that timeline, if you do have the strategy, and all, like you said, what you always tell me is everything that we fell forward on in business or in life, it's all data.
Yeah, it's all data.
It's all data. Yeah. And so hearing you saying, because in the past, Ewan would have been like, probably never going to do that again. Whatever, right? You've shared your story on the marathon. We haven't really talked. We've broken it down, but we haven't really expressed doing it. But here you're like saying all these things that you've said. And now you're like, well, what's possible?
Yeah.
That version of you right there, that guy right there, that's the belief, that's the faith, that's the hope that what is possible.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality, that's the belief. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So you show up there, you're going to start showing up subconsciously in these other areas of life. And on top of that, in our mastermind group this morning, which was brilliant, if I might add, you were in the hot seat, and being in the hot seat, it's like you had this aha moment. So all these things are like, sitting here, I'm like, who is this guy, Ewan? I'm like, I'm liking this. I'm liking this guy.
It's so funny, man. And if I was to say, like, okay, when I've been like this before, coming to America is one of them. Like, no money, no education, no business being in the States. Like, I remember being on this, like, what's possible, and nothing's going to stop me from doing this. Like, it was always the vision, the feeling of what it's going to be like when I'm there, and it just drives you forward, just drives, like, and it just is a beautiful place that you want to be. And I feel that with this, so it's very exciting. It's compelling. Like, normally in the past, I'm like, okay, I got to go do this training. Now it's like, when can I go train? Like I'm being impatient. Like, now it's time to, I've got purpose behind it. Right?
Yeah,
like,
man. I
very
feel that.
Specific, purpose. And I guess that's, again, clarity, just clear on the end result, like not to mountaintop, because this is the thing. It's not about just getting to that result for the result's sake. It's about enjoying it, right? Like you said, like you got to enjoy the experience through it, or else you're just suffering for nothing. Or if you're doing it for money, man, that's got to be tough. Like working for money is the worst. Like it just is. And that's true in anything, not just, if you're competing for or even time or status. Like the people who we saw quit, nothing against them doing that, because they had their reasons, and I don't know exactly what they were, but I know it probably had something to do with the way it looked or their expectations for themselves, and it wasn't enough. And so they stopped. Why am I doing this? I'm out. And so I think that's human nature to do that and to look at it, and where are we doing that in our own lives? And it's just another indicator. Okay, what do I want then? Right?
Exactly.
Like, what do I want to have, and what do I want to be? What's compelling? What do I want to enjoy? Like, and you said it too, dude, and it was beautiful, because that's you're feeling what you love to do. It's so funny how we reverse, because I've always loved to just run a little bit and lift weights and get strong. Like that's always been my jam, and I didn't ever need a purpose. I just love doing it. Now it's like I'm like, I could, but where's it going? Like now I'm like, no, I'm on a mission. So and so we'll see where this goes. It's exciting. I feel in a very good place, like with that.
Awesome, man. Well, we'll wrap things up, and I just want to do a quick little plug. We have a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs that listen to this. And one of the things that I can gracefully say with gratitude and appreciation is shout out to our entire team members that held down the fort while we were gone for 8 days. I mean, we came back, and you can attest to this. The business didn't skip a beat. And podcasts rolled out as expected. Content rolled out as expected. I mean, when we didn't have to lift a finger. All we did was focus on our competition, focused on being present, enjoying the suck and embracing it and being there, right? And we both know that takes a lot of time, energy, and effort. Yeah. So thank you for those that are a part of our team. You know who you are listening to this, and even our community and tribe, for all the support, all the love, from the text messages, the DMs, the comments, the likes, the shares, and in person. That is all felt, and that is what keeps us going. That is what allows us to show up and become the best version of ourselves and impact and serve more people just like you. So I'm forever grateful for everybody that supported us in the last basically few months in this journey. So really appreciative.
I can't say more than what you just said right there. Right. Exactly with that, man. Just thank you to everybody. That was perfect, man. Those couldn't have said it better myself, man.
Awesome, brother. Well, outside of that, man, if you have, please share this with a friend or a family. Please like and comment, subscribe to the Level Up and Live podcast. And outside of that, we appreciate you. We love you, and level up and live. Go out, live your best life, fullest life, and the journey of becoming the best version of yourself. Stay tuned for more journeys, for more updates, for more behind the scenes content, because we ain't resting. Who knows what's coming next? So stay tuned and level up and live.
Level up and live.